Good morning, British literature students. Welcome to, I don't even know what you call it. There's 6 classes left, is what I was trying to say. The sixth from the last. Yeah, sixth from the last class here. I want to encourage you guys to just keep showing up, doing the assignments. Not going to try to overwhelm you. Um, just show me what you're thinking about the literature. I know that it's probably just kind of a whirlwind, and I know that we're all just kind of wrestling with like, I don't care, I'm so done or whatever. But just finish strong and know that the end is in sight. Um, anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the Romantic era. We're going to look at some poems from the Romantic era, and then on Thursday we're going to look at Frankenstein, some of Frankenstein anyway. And what I want to do for starters is just tell you guys that you have a check-in assignment on LMS where you are to read page 662 of your book and write down one thing that you personally find interesting. I'm not looking for like copying of words, okay, or just dry bullet points. Just what do you find interesting about him? Okay. Read both columns there about his biography, his life, his art. He wasn't just a poet, he was an artist as well. So you need to write that on the LMS wall for your entry test. That needs to be done during class time today. Okay. I will be following up with people who don't seem to be checking in, and probably CCing parents if I need to. Okay. So please make sure that you're doing that and being present for the end, for these next 6 classes. All right. Um, so the romantic period. Hopefully you guys watched the video on Friday and wrote down some takeaways of things that you learned from Mr. Osborne. He had a lot to say. What I'd like you guys to pay attention to, and this will actually be something that you're going to have to remember in your OneNote folder or through LMS. You're going to have an assignment called Blake Poetry Work. And one of the questions is going to be asking about characteristics of the Romantic era or period and the literature from it. So the Romantic era is basically 1798 through 1832. So just a 34-year period. And all the different periods and writing movements were responses to things that had happened before. And basically, the American Revolution and the French Revolution had just taken place, and that really affected society in England and just the different wars they were involved in. And there were just big changes. There was the Industrial Revolution that really changed society from there being a lot of farms to everything just becoming industrialized. And going through a big challenge like a war um, made people really just kind of question what they had believed and what they thought before. And so, what you see starting in 1798 is literature that kind of rebels against the previous ways of life and took some new liberties. And I'm curious to see what will happen when our society gets back to normal, or not really normal, but just back to kind of going back to work and school and people being able to make movies and music. What kinds of things are going to be different? How are people going to view the world differently? What types of new ideas will emerge? But anyway, some things that I want you to know about, some characteristics of Romantic literature. It's not romance in the sense you saw that in Mr. Osborne's video. He's not talking about the trashy romance novels or romance movies, chick flicks. It is romanticism is having kind of a just really like ideal, imaginative idea of like a perfect fantasy world type thing. So fantasy can really like come into it. Now, don't think of it as like elves and dwarves type of stuff, but just people really heavily using their imagination. Frankenstein is such a book, but not all the books are like that. They're not all ghost stories and things like that. But basically, romantic literature is very emotional. People are very much into their emotions and feelings. During the Restoration, science and reason and logic were huge things, and Romantic writers were basically saying, no, emotion matters more than reason. Reason doesn't solve all of our problems. Look at science doesn't solve all of our problems. Look at the big revolutions that have taken place and the wars that we've been involved in. Um, Science and reason is not always the answer. And so, emotion over reason being the first one. The second one, romantic authors really highly valued nature. Nature was an escape from the industrialization of the past 100 and so years. And like I said, they criticized science and industrialization and the big cities, and people wanted to get away, to escape. You'll see those themes very often through romantic literature, just a deep connection and appreciation for nature. And like I said, it's so that's the second one. So emotion over reason, nature valued over science and industrialization, and finally, it is intensely imaginative. When you think of romantic literature, I want you to think of a balloon, a helium balloon that floats, and it's tied. It's tied to a chair. The chair represents reality and reason, and the balloon is not right there on the chair. It floats away. It's imaginative, but it's always kind of grounded or connected somewhat to the reason and logic, if that makes sense. So think of a balloon, helium balloon, tied to a chair that wants to float away and tends to float away, but can only go so far. That is romantic literature. Okay, so William Blake, I'm going to let you guys just read about him. But one thing that I thought was really interesting is that he was not only a poet, he was an artist. If you guys look at his three poems on pages 664 through 666, you will see pictures of his original artwork from his book that he did. There weren't many copies of these books because the process that he used to make it and to hand bind all of them was very demanding, and so he only made a few. And very valuable if you ever come across one of those or see one of those in an art museum. You can see pictures of what that looked like. He didn't only draw the poems, he drew artwork that illustrated it. And so please take a look at those pictures as you guys read the poems. And what you're going to do today is read two poems. We're not going to read the third one. It's a good poem, but I think that the first two are good to look at. What you're going to do is you're going to read A Poison Tree on 664 and then The Lamb on 665. In fact, I'm going to read them for you. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to just make observations. What is the poem saying? You take your best guess. Again, this is your thoughts. This is not you going and looking for what other people say. It's you just having academic courage to say, I think this poem is talking about this. And if you make a good attempt at it, that's what I'm asking for. Okay, make your best attempt at it. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is compare the tones of the two poems. That will all be found either in LMS or in your OneNote folder. So go ahead and if you wouldn't mind reading with me, go to 664, and I might make just a couple comments about each poem, things to look for. But basically, I'm going to ask for three to four thoughts what you think the poem is trying to say. And you can go whatever way you want to go about it. You can talk about what it means, how one idea compares to the next. You can talk about what each stanza is saying. I don't really care. You could even talk about rhyme scheme if you guys remember that from our sonnets unit that we did. So anyway, 664, A Poison Tree by William Blake. I'm going to read it. Okay. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. A powerful first stanza right there. I'll let you guys kind of think about what that means. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears. And I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. So this definitely has a serious tone. I'll let you guys talk about how it's serious, if that you want that to be one of your observations or what you think this is about. You got a guy who's angry, and his wrath grows into this apple, to this tree, and you can see a picture of the resolution. This one almost tells a story. There's like a story, but there's a message behind it. Those are good things to talk about too. What do you think is the message? What is William Blake trying to communicate? Okay, so that's 664. So 3 to 4 thoughts about what this poem is talking about. They have to be your thoughts. Okay. 665, The Lamb by William Blake. One of the things to pay attention to, I'm going to ask you guys to kind of compare and contrast similarities and differences between the two poems, as many as you can find. Okay. The Lamb by William Blake. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed by the stream and o'er the mead? Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I'll tell thee. Little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee. So very different from a poison tree. I'm not going to tell you what it means, but my question would be for you: is this poem just about a lamb? Okay, what else might it be about? Okay, so 3 to 4 thoughts on both poems, and then just compare and contrast. That's what I want you guys to do today. Please don't hesitate to email if you have any questions, and check RenWeb for your grades. Those should be updated. And some of you, like, please, guys, you need to let me know if you make up any late work. I'm not going to just go and check and hope that you've done it. You need to take responsibility for it. Anything that's marked missing, if you want me to grade it, you're going to need to let me know that it's done. Okay. So sending me an email, or email is probably best. But yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, let me know. You guys have a wonderful day, and God bless. Let me close this in prayer. Lord, thank you so much for these juniors and these seniors, Lord. I pray that you would help them to finish strong. I pray that you would just help them to know how much you love them, and that you are the good shepherd who watches over his sheep. And I just pray that you would work in our hearts through this situation that can be frustrating. So many things that we wish we had are taken away right now. But so many things still remain for which we should be really grateful and thankful. Lord, help us to not take those things for granted. Pray that each and every one of these students would know you personally and walk with you, be in your word. Pray that you would just watch over them and their families. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.